Hey, this is Shane, the host of From the Shadows podcast, and I'm here with Jason, the super producer.
Greetings, everybody.
And the one and the only resident skeptic, the Ozarkhowler.
Hey, I'm here. I got a story for almost everything, because I was on the street for almost 30 years, so I got a story for everything. So if you got a subject, send it to From the Shadows podcast, and I'll tell you a story about
it. Yeah. And for those new listeners, the Howler has 30 years of being a sheriff, a highway patrolman, air marshal, a homeland security, and probably a lifetime of just being an all-around funny dude. So
redneck, man.
Redneck. So with that, thanks for welcoming us onto the Odyssey Radio Network, and we hope that you enjoy the show. Hey, Howler, last week you told us you were going to give us the car crash special, man. So let's go. I know lots of people have been sending messages wanting to know what else can the Howler give us when it comes to car crashes. So I know I've been waiting all week. What do you got?
Well, sorry, I just got sidetracked there. I broke in car crashes early because I grew up in the country like you guys. Of course, Ohio's pretty straight and flat, but down here in the Ozarks, all kinds of kids getting wrecked, and people getting wrecked, everybody getting wrecked. One of my good friends from high school got a Ford Mustang for his 16th birthday, brought it over, started picking up kids, on the way to my house. Got to my house, we had a gravel road, so he was going to cut a big fishtail when we pulled out of the gravel road. And those kids had this car about maybe 2 days. This is his second adventure, and spun out and went right in the ditch with all of us. So,
oh my goodness!
But I grew up with a guy named Dave. Dave doesn't mind if I use his name because he works down here at the junkyard. And any fame that he might garner would probably help his position in life. But we called him Super Dave because he had been in 3. By the time of this, not the wreck me and him I'm about to tell you about. By that time, he'd been in 1 accident where a passenger, he was riding in the back seat. And one of the other passengers had gotten killed. But as of today, this podcast, he's been in 3 accidents where he was a passenger and somebody in the car he was riding in got killed. Okay.
So does that make you pause before you jump in the car with Super Dave? That doesn't really sound all that super.
At the time, first of all, this is before his fortunes changed. He was a state worker like me. The other thing is, we just thought it was a freak accident. He was one of these guys that were supposed to go out in the world and be somebody, good-looking kid, smart, and he decided to take a gap year. You know what I mean? This is back before gap years was anything. And people that were making excuses for him would argue, and I don't even know why I'm going on this tangent about him, psychoanalysis, but they would blame his poor decision making on being in this wreck where this girl got killed. Does that make sense? Like maybe it affected his ability to focus and go to school and do what he's supposed to do. When in reality, he just liked drinking and smoking weed more than he liked studying. You know what I'm saying? So what?
Okay, well I think you made your diagnosis there.
So he pissed his potential away. It had nothing to do with this girl getting killed. Well, or maybe he was on the weed so bad because of that. But this is back before weed was cool. I mean, 35 years ago, if you was on the weed too bad, you were just out. Nowadays, they send you to Hollywood and pay you $10 million a film. But anyway, back to Dave. We were working for the state, obviously, and we were driving this old international cab over. I was driving. I got 2 stories, both of them because I always drove. And anyhow, I was driving this old international cab over in the old gas with a 5-speed, 2-speed rear end, just old crap truck. But you got to think this is in the late 80s, so it was probably 20 years old, so it was probably something from the 60s now that I think about it. But the motor went out. We were hauling straw. We had a new construction site, and I was hauling baled straw, square bales, so that we could put them in this straw blower. So me and Dave would have to go out to the state. We'd put this bid out and say the state wants to buy 2,000 straw bales or whatever. and Johnny Farmer out here in Boone County would call and, fill out the paperwork, and you'd have to drive way out in the middle of these sticks in this truck and trailer and load. And I know that sounds inconceivable to anybody less than 50 years old, but you'd have to understand how to load 300 or 400 straw bales and boom them, strap them down, tie them down, so you could truck across the country with them, or the state. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, it makes sense.
Well, of course it makes sense. I've been part of those operations.
Yeah, you have, but I don't know how many of your listeners have. You know what I mean?
Probably not many.
I don't. I mean,
my oldest son is on his way to be a Division I All-American academic, and if I told him he had to get a load of straws, he would say, "But aren't they outlawing all them plastic straws?" He wouldn't even know what the straw bale was, much less. He would say, "Why? They're outlawing plastic straws." So, but anyway, I blew the motor up in this old truck. So being the government organization, they were very inefficient. They were still inefficient back in those days too. What they do, the next day, they give me a new truck. Not a brand new truck, but a newer one. Big diesel, International S2100 single axle tractor. Okay? So we haul all this straw, and that's that. We got another project we got to go. Instead of hauling the straw, when the trailer was empty, I had a brand new Finn straw blower. You know what a big Finn straw blower? I had a Finn straw blower loaded to the front, and then I had a John Deere tractor in the middle with a disc and a seeder and a whole bunch of stuff. I'm trying to think of what else there was on this trailer. But I had all the equipment boomed down in this thing, and we were driving from point A to point B. Well, this truck, even though it was a new truck, back in them days, the government vehicles, it had an AM radio. Air conditioning was the only thing it had, So I think it was a 9-speed. I don't think it was a 13-speed. I think it was just 9-speed, but whatever. Dave went to Radio Shack. There used to be, back in the old days, a store called Radio Shack. And he went to Radio Shack, and he had this portable CD player, which was cutting edge technology at the time, right? Okay. And he had crawled up under the dash somehow and wired this portable CD player to the AM speakers in this International truck as we had progressed in the summer of straw, right? So we're driving down this state blacktop, straight as a string, flat as a pool table for miles. So think about corn country out there where you're at.
Yeah.
Pick some state road out there where you guys are at. And we're jacking around with the Rolling Stones Steel Wheels CD in this portable CD player, okay? And the only reason why I remember Steel Wheels because I'm 99%, I got pictures of the crash. I'm 99% sure he had a Steel Wheels t-shirt on because I think it was right after the concert, But all that to say is this: I dropped the right wheels of this tractor off the pavement.
Oh, no.
And my dad always told me, Jason, well, because both you guys, you know what big trucks are all about.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. My old man used to say, whenever you drop off the pavement, just stay in the ditch, don't jerk back on.
Right.
Okay. So I guess I didn't slow down enough or something, but so I'm rolling down the ditch. So then, my tandem duals on the trailer follow me down into the ditch. Well, there's a culvert from a field entrance coming up to me.
Oh, boy.
So I jerked that tractor back onto the road, but the trailer stayed in the ditch, if that makes sense, like dog track.
Yes.
Yeah.
When the tandem duals caught that culvert, it rolled me over. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Tractor broke apart from the trailer and rolled back over to its tires. The trailer stayed upside down on all this stuff and then slid into the side of the tractor. And I remember, and this will mean something to you big truck drivers. I remember we were in the ditch, nose in the ditch, 2/3 flat. It didn't flat us all together, for just the grace of God. But it was lugging real bad. You know how they'll lug?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Dave telling me, shut it off, and I kept turning the key off, saying it won't shut off. Well, it's got a big kill switch you had to pull out, you know what I'm saying, to kill it on this tractor. So I pulled the kill switch, and we got it shut down, and it was just a freaking mess. We climbed out, and there's $182,000 or $186,000 worth of state equipment just blasted to pieces.
Oh, my
This is the great
goodness.
part. I think I'm 18 and he's 19. He's a year older than me. So I was 19, he was 20. I'm pretty sure it was 18 and 19, but maybe it was 19 and 20. But we're out in the middle of nowhere, and this is pre-cell phone. There's no phones. Now we had a radio in this thing, but the antenna was up the asphalt about 75 feet. So we're just there. Hey,
it was
so long.
was mixed emotions playing in the background.
I don't even remember. I think the CD player came unglued. I mean, I think it came the little 11 gauge wire wasn't enough. You know what I mean? I don't care how much black tape you put on it. I think it separated. Yeah. So, needless to say, we just stood around. I don't even remember. I think Dave started picking stuff up out of the ditch because he was a car crash professional. But I was just in shock. And lo and behold, here comes some car up the pavement. Now, they can't get by us because this trailer, the tractor's in the south ditch, trailer's up against the tractor, and the dovetail is in the north ditch. So we've got the entire highway shut.
Oh, gosh.
First car pulls up. They can't get around. They stop, ask if we're okay. Yeah. They think we hit somebody on a tractor. And I'm saying, no, we were hauling that tractor. You know? And, well, did you call anybody? Who are we going to call? So they said, well, we'll bring you up to, so they put me in a car and they drop, Dave stays there. He says, fuck, you got a call. I didn't wreck it. So Dave just sits on the asphalt, in the shade of this tractor, and I get in the car with some stranger, like an old diplomat or whatever it was at the time, and they take me to some Farmer Jones house up the road and pull in, and Belma come out. What's going on? Well, they had a wreck. They need to use your phone. Okay, come on in. Got that phone in the kitchen with about a 40-foot cord,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's got to get the phone book out to find the highway patrol's number. So I called this number, and this old man, this is back when troopers answered the phone. Highway patrol, Macon. And I said, well, I'd like to report an accident. Okay, where at? I said, Highway D. Okay, what county? And I said, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? And I said, I don't know what county I'm in. Well, you at somebody's house, boy? And I said, yeah. He goes, hand them the phone. So I said, he wants to talk to you. So I didn't know what county we were in, So, that was that. So the people bring me back to the wreck, right? So he kicked me out, and I'm sitting there, and lo and behold, I don't know, a ways. I don't remember how, 10 minutes, might have been 2 hours. I don't remember, but here come this trooper shows up. And the old square body Caprice. Remember the old Caprice? Square.
Yep.
Okay. He gets out, puts his freaking hat on. Says, which one of you kids was driving this? And I said, me. And he goes, I need to see your cab card, your CDL, and something. And I said, well, here, I hand you my driver's license. He said, you ain't got a CDL? And I said, no. And he goes, well, who owns this wreck? In Missouri, just like a lot of states, if the product, the truck, and the driver all belong to a farm, a family farm, you're exempt from everything. So it's not uncommon to have these teenagers wrecking all kinds of 18-wheelers because it's a farm deal. So I walked over to the trailer and I pulled the license plate on the dovetail straight, and it said State of Missouri official car. Back in them, that's when license plates used to stay. Old red and white. He goes, are you kidding me? I said, no. And he goes, do you know how much paperwork this is? And I said, no. And he goes, well, what'd your boss say? I said, I didn't call him. What do you mean you didn't call him? I said, I called you guys. You better get in the car and go up to their house. So I get the same old diplomat, the same old people, the same old house. I gotta go in there and ask me to use the phone again. this old woman says, the highway patrol didn't show up. I said, no, now I got to call my boss. So I called my boss, my big boss, and then he wants to know where my supervisor is, which is a whole nother story. Because my supervisor wasn't with us. It was me and Dave.
And you guys probably aren't supposed to be out there without the supervisor, or?
Well, it was. We were. I think in the crux to the deal is we were supposed to be a little closer supervised than we were. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Isn't it always the case?
In what we would call the after action report that came out, the supervisor was supposed to be driving this big new truck, and me and Dave was supposed to be in this pickup hauling the seed, because we would go down to like MFA and get 1,000 pounds of, fescue seed or triple 12, triple 13, whatever we're fertilizing, whatever we're doing. And we had a pretty new F-250, and we were supposed to be in that pickup, and DeVos was supposed to be driving the 18, but he didn't like it because he'd been driving a truck his whole life, and he'd rather drive the pickup. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I understand completely.
So he entrusted us with this mess, and we let him down. That's the crux of that part of the story. Okay? So I go back to this wreck. This trooper writes all his paperwork up and gives us a ride, but I don't remember where he brought us to. But he brought us back to fairly, a decent. I mean, because we had nothing to drive. We're 120 miles. Knowing where I know today, we're 125 miles from our building, and subsequently our houses and stuff. I mean, we don't,
100. You're 120 miles away.
Yeah, because we traveled all over the state and did stuff. You know what I mean? All over.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So he brought us to town, and we sat around. At some point, somebody came and got us, but I don't remember. But the funny part about this whole story is this trooper. Now, this is 1989, maybe 90. You look up and see when Steel Wheels came out.
I did, 1989.
Yeah. He berates us to no end.
For 120 miles?
No, he only brought us like 30 miles, 20 miles back to his big town, He's not bringing us anywhere. I mean, brought us to I think he must have took us to the patrol office or the troop barracks or whatever. But I sat in the front seat with this trooper. Dave sat in the back, and this trooper ragged on us the whole time. Fast forward. In about 99, I don't know, late 90s, I was a trooper. And I was on what they call a Special Emergency Response Team. And we got called out. We got toned out to do a early morning no-knock raid for the DEA in nowhere, North Missouri. Okay? And I lived right there close to the troop where we had this big we called it the war wagon, but it was this big truck with, it's like a mobile command post with all this stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was incumbent upon me or this other guy to drive the war wagon because we lived right close to it, and nobody else wanted to drive it. But mainly it's because we lived there. And other people lived all over, so when you'd get toned out, everybody would have to go to like a command post, or they'd set this truck up where. So I was driving out the troop to get the war wagon, and my co-worker had already taken it. He had got there before me, and he had taken it. So I was getting gas in this out of town. When I say out of town, a sergeant that was on the team with us that lived in another town was driving through. He was getting gas. You'd always get gas before at the state. Back then, you had to get it at like the high transportation sheds and certain places to get gas. Now they do. I don't know what they do, but now they got a state credit card. I guess they get gas wherever they want. But back in the old days, it didn't work like that. So the sergeant pulled up, and he's getting gas. This is like 2:30 in the morning. So he said, now we're going to the same spot. He says, you want to ride with me? And I said, yeah, I'll ride with you, just because when you got to drive, we're going to drive 150 miles, 2:30 in the morning. It's boring. It's quiet. And I had some stuff, but I didn't have as much gear as those. I mean, I had a lot of gear, but I never used it because I'm embarrassed to tell you this. I was a crisis negotiator. So I was cross-trained as a sniper and some other stuff, but my main duty was to talk to people, talk them out of the building, talk them out of their current situation, right? So I usually just brought myself, you know what I mean? I didn't carry a bunch of machine gun shit because I leave that up to other people, you know what I mean? I'm not into all that. But so I get in the car with this sergeant who is the real deal. He is the real deal. Tall, good. I mean, to this day, tall, good looking, great shape. I mean, he is the real deal. Type A personality, smart as a whip. And we go, and we're in an brand new unmarked Crown Victoria. And we're going up to Nowhereville in US 63 there, and right through the middle of Missouri. They were doing a bunch of construction, so part of it was 4-lane. Most of it was 4-lane, part of it was 2-lane. Okay, so we get up outside of between Moberly and Macon, Missouri, and it's 2-lane. It had been raining, but then it stopped raining, and we were behind the Kraft cheese and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They have a big distribution thing here in Missouri, so they have a lot of those double trailers. You know what I mean? Kind of like UPS double trailers, but they got a Kraft double trailer. So we were behind this Kraft double trailer, and he wanted to pass him. So, you know, he kind of peeked out 2 or 3 times and trying to get the right spot. So there's a big straight stretch with just a little bit of dip in it for about 3 miles. And when he peeks out, there's a set of headlights, but it's way, way ahead. Okay. So he said something, and I said, dude, I think you can make it. So he punches this V8 down, and we kick out to pass his double trailer, and we're going, and we're going, and we're going. And remember I told you there was a little dip in the road?
Mm-hmm.
It was full of water. Water was running over the highway.
Oh, my.
Oh.
And we hit this water going probably only about 90 or 95. But it was enough that we spun completely out. And you remember I told you there was a set of headlights way in the future? Well, they're a lot closer now, and it's another 18-wheeler. So now we're spinning out on this highway, and I remember slouching down the passenger seat, praying we slid off the highway before either of those 18-wheelers hit us. And we finally found the ditch. It went boom. And in farm country, the highways are usually a couple feet higher than the field, you know, the fields on the sides and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So this ditch full of water was like a slalom, and we were going down it backwards. So finally, we come to stop. The dash cluster, you know, when your car goes through a catastrophe like it, our car is quit, and it's like all the lights are on: brake light, check engine light, park light. You know, like everything is on over there. And the windshield wipers, he had them on delayed, so, and there wasn't any rain. It had already quit, but it was going over the stopped car. You know what I mean? So coffee was he had one of them fat bottom coffee cups, and he had his computer, his mobile data terminal, MDT, closed, and he had this fat bottom coffee cup on the top of it, and it flew all over me. So it's dripping cappuccino, frate, latte, whatever. I'm not a coffee drinker, but it's dripping coffee all over me. So he immediately throws it in park, starts it up, puts it in gear, and tries to drive out. But we're spinning. And he's backing up, and he's rocking the car back and forth. Yeah. He goes, I think we just slid off. We're okay. So he's going back and forth. He's giving it to college to try, man, trying to get us out. And there's a tap at the window. Somebody's tapping on our window. Puts the window down, and it's another trooper that was going to the same place we're going. He was about a mile or two behind us. He said, and I don't want to use this guy's first name because he's still working. He is a major person at the organization. So he's in the top 10 people. So I don't want to say his name, but the other guy knocked on the window and said, hey, I'm going to say Chuck, which it ain't Chuck, but it was changed for his career. Said, hey, Chuck, or whatever. Dude, you got to shut this thing down. Your front bumper's up there on the highway. And he goes, are you kidding me? And I said, no. So he picks up the mic and he hands it to me and tells me to call it in. So everybody in the world listening here's my badge number instead of his badge number. Does that make sense?
Oh, jeez.
So at that time, the radios, now they have a whole trunk, so now they got all kinds of cool stuff, so they probably know immediately. But at that time, the numbers were on the radios were odds and evens up to like 16 or 18 channels. So one would be car to base, an odd number would be car to base, and the even number would be car to car. So, and where we were at was in a different troop, and it was either one up or one down from where we were at. I just couldn't remember. So I put it on the one I thought it was. I used my number 4 or 3 times. And I kept trying to call Macon, and they weren't answering. About the 4th time I did that, Kirkwood, which is in St. Louis, they answered and said, "Are you trying to get a hold of Macon?" I said, "Yes." And they said, "This is the put your radio to this channel." So I switched the channel. And I called Macon, told him, we was in a wreck, blah, blah, blah. Of course, now all the people listening think I wrecked, which is what he wanted, Which is maybe why he could manage getting promoted and I never could. But whatever. Anyhow, the best part is, so I go to get out to see how bad the damage is. He tells me, "Hey, get out of the car, see how bad it is." I get out of the car and I take one step and I fall face down in this mud.
Oh gosh.
Okay. So then I get up and I walk around and he's right. It's tore up. So I go to get, and then it started sprinkling again. So I go to get back in the car and I trip on something and fall face down in the mud in the same spot again. And what I'm tripping over is those Crown Vics had dual exhaust, When we went down the ditch, the right rear first, that right rear pipe, exhaust pipe, caught in the mud, and it has bent. It broke loose from the hangers, and it has bent underneath the passenger side of that car, underneath the right rear tire, and it is coming out at a 90-degree angle right between the driver's door and the passenger and back seat door of that car. And that's what I'm tripping over is the exhaust pipe. Okay? So I get back in his car. I've got coffee and mud, and we just sat there for, I don't know, it seemed like a long time. And lo and behold, because they had to call, and they tell them, well, we're going to have what we call a local car. Even though there's 9 other troopers with us, they're got to go this call out. They're going to, what they call a local car, a guy that's assigned to that county, they're calling him out of bed to come work this wreck.
Oh my gosh.
So this dude rolls up, he walks over there, tells us to get in his car. He gets in his car, and Vince is in the front right, I'm in the back, and he's getting our information, you know what I mean? Blah, 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 blah. And the whole time he's berating Vince. Gosh, sorry, because this guy's old, he's in his mid-50s, and he's a corporal, and Vince is 30. That's the dude I'm riding with. I just ratted him out now. He's 30 and he's a sergeant. So those old guys, when young guys got promoted over him, they don't, It was like a double-edged. It was double. He's going, "Oh, back in my day, we knew better. They trained troopers not to drive like idiots in the rain. And back when I was, when I was on a sergeant, no better than this." And it's just on and on and on and on and on and on. And of course, and he kept his mouth shut. And then he looked back to me and he goes, "And I'll tell you what, this will be the last wreck I work of yours because I'm retiring next month." He was the guy that worked 18 when we were wrecked.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's classic.
That is great.
I can't believe they hired you. And because he had seen me in the academy. It's the only reason I'd refreshed his memory because I talked to him when I was in the academy. He was down there for something. I can't even believe they hired you. At least they're not letting you drive. That's what he said. At least they're not letting you drive. So they flatbed this truck. This it's a brand new Crown Vic. Got like 2,300 miles on it. They truck it to the Macon troop on a flatbed and they roll it off. So we had our gear and we went to this call out. You know what I mean? We geared up and went to this call out to quell the uprising or whatever it was at the time. And we get back and it's 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. And the guy that was driving the car, he's on the phone with our normal lieutenant who's chewing his ass about, because this car's got to be hauled to Jeff City, which is the capital of Missouri. That's where our car, what you'd call a car depot, or the main garage was. And he's talking about, the state's always been broke, and got no money. It's going to cost all this to get it hauled there, this, that, and the other. Is it drivable? And the front bumper got ripped off in the accident. The back bumper got ripped off when hooked onto the front of it with a tow truck and pulled it out. So both bumper, and I say bumpers, they're bumper covers. They're just them rubber covers. And he's over there taking warm water on the conversation. And I said, "You tell Lieutenant, well, I'll drive. We can drive it back." He said, "Well, Jeff said it's drivable." "How's it drivable?" And I said, "We'll just drive it. We ain't going to cost the state any more money. I'll drive it back." So he hung up the phone. He goes, "How you going to drive a car back? The exhaust is sticking out 6 feet on the side." So I got in the war wagon. We had all these tools, to break in doors and do all kinds of crazy stuff. But one of the things we had was at that time, cutting edge, portable, like bandsaw thing. And so I crawled into that car and I cut that exhaust up the head of the kink best I could, so it didn't mess up the valves, the exhaust valve. Threw them bumper covers in the war wagon. I drove that thing 150 miles back. No bumper covers. It still had 9 dick antennas, but there was no emblem, the unmarked car. But I drove it back, man.
Did you get a commendation letter for saving it?
Hey, they tried to ding me up. I had a hard ass lieutenant, didn't like me much, and he was one of them gotcha guys. You see, in order to make it in that world, you got to get somebody, whether it's get somebody driving to work with a speeding ticket or get a coworker. They got you mentality. I had this back in the days. You had pagers, and my pager got wet when I fell in the ditch, and my pager got wet. So he made me do this report. We call it a report of survey on my pager. He made me do a report of survey on my pager, and was like, they might suspend you or ask you to pay the $165 for that pager. I said, "Are you kidding me?" And he goes, "No, it's just common practice, Jeff. It was your responsibility, and you got to let it get wet."
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I said, "You know what?" I said, I think I'm freaking hurting that wreck. That's what I think. I said, "I think the state of Missouri is culpable on my damn emotional distress from being put in the ditch in the first place."
And
that's no way to be. And I said, "No, it's the way to be." I said, "You guys want to be chicken shit? I can be chicken shit with the best government official."
Not to mention,
that's why I never got promoted. That's why I had to go to the Fed, because you tore up stuff there and they didn't care. They just give you new ones. That's a cost of doing business for the U.S. government. Especially, I was a Bush man after 9/11 when they just flushed money. But that's another story.
Oh, man. Oh. Well,
Yeah.
That was good.
What?
Ladies and gentlemen, a final word. Please visit us on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/From the Shadows Podcast, and on our Instagram page at instagram.com/From the Shadows Podcast. You can visit our webpage at FromTheShadowsPodcast.GoDaddySites.com, or contribute to our Facebook discussion page called After the Shadows, and tweet us on our Twitter feed at twitter.com/podcast_from. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to hearing from you all. Until next time, never shy away from the darkness or what may be lurking in the shadows. We are out.